We just got season 3, episode 7 of Euphoria. A lot of very shocking things happen this episode, and we gotta talk about them. Spoilers ahead. The episode opens up, and we get a little bit more of Ollie's backstory. We also finally see Natasha Lyonne appear in this episode very briefly, but we see him struggling with his addiction. We see the moment that he turned his life around. He truly just wants to help people, and we see throughout the years he's reached out to people. Even through the pandemic, he tried to keep up with all of his sponsorees. Unfortunately, he's lost multiple people, and we learn that he keeps a log of the people, their names, and the dates that he lost them in a book. And Rue says it's kind of like the Book of the Dead. We see Ollie's heart and how he's tried to reach so many people, including Rue, throughout the years. We see Alamo talking to the manager of the strip club, giving him a pretty hard time for failing him and telling him, yeah, you're going to be the one to transport these girls with the ambulance into Mexico, and you're going to take one of Lori's guys with him. Then see Rue is hanging out with Lexi, and Lexi's very focused in on writing the script, but Rue just keeps kind of talking about her faith, how God has spoken to her, and Lexi is kind of judgmental in this scene. She's very much like, what are you talking about? Later on in the episode, Rue talks about how she's lied so much that even when she's telling the truth, people don't believe her, and we see that happen in the scene because Alexi's like, what are you even talking about? Just kind of blowing Rue off, and they get into a bit of an argument, and then Rue just leaves the room, but we see her walk up to Cassie's apartment because she sees someone peering through her blinds. She knocks on the door. We see that a very unsavory person is on the other side of that door, and we can only imagine what's going on with Cassie, but Rue decides to leave the door before anything bad happens. Conversation between her and Lexi. Unfortunately, Rue discloses a little bit too much to Lexi. She mentions the DEA, mentions the unsavory people she's been working with. Later on, we see this kind of bite her in the butt. Things have gone from bad to worse for Cassie. She tries to get her OF account back, but they can't bring it back. And then she also gets let go from LA Nights because Lexi's boss has been instructed to let her go because they don't want to deal with complications from hiring someone from OF instead of an actress. So Lexi's boss tells her, hey, really good script. We really enjoyed that, but you need to let your sister go. And so we see the moment Maddie finds out what has happened with Cassie. And there's a bit of a tense moment where she does slap Cassie, but she's like, you know what, you're going to get to work, you're going to do everything I say, and we're going to get this going. We see her set Cassie up with the actor from LA Nights. They go out on the town. Then they head back to Cassie's apartment, where Cassie asks him to take a photo with her. He sees him entering in his phone password, and so they take a photo, they have a nice night together, and then while he's in the kitchen, Cassie gets on his phone and posts the picture to his Instagram, tagging herself. And because she does that without his knowledge, she gets 100K followers overnight. So her and Maddie are really excited, but they go into the kitchen the morning after, and they see Nate's finger is sitting in the cup. Because earlier we saw the actor get some ice from her fridge, and the finger was in there, and he drank from that cup. Cassie's kind of forced to tell Maddie what's been going on. So Maddie starts understanding like how much trouble Cassie and Nate truly are in. Later on, we see Rue is hanging at Ollie's house, and they're basically talking about the trouble she's in. He's trying to reason with her, help her let's go get your mom and just flee. Like, he wants to help her so bad to not get more involved in this messiness, but she's like, you don't understand, they're gonna hurt my mom. He says, I have to do this one last run to protect my mom. She tells him how she heard from God, and he's like, what did he say to you? He says he basically told her to have faith and that he would deliver her to the promised land. He says that if she can get out of this mess, she's gonna go back to Texas where that homestead is because she thinks that's like the promised land. He tells her to go to sleep, and in the morning they'll go get her mom. He also mentions, I know you're in the Old Testament, but Moses does not make it to the promised land. In the morning, we see that Rue has unfortunately left though, and she leaves a little sticky note that says, forgive me. We see everyone preparing for this big endeavor, taking the girls across the border and getting the 80 kilos. Attempts to go back to Lori's camp, and she injures herself to make it look like Alma has attacked her to kind of reason with Lori. And we see them giving her a very hard time because obviously she has told a lot of lies. Wayne basically tells them, well, you know, because you lied, now we have the leg up on the situation. Like, through your lies, it was kind of a blessing. But you will be punished for treason. Back at Cassie's apartment, she gets a knock on the door. She opens the door, and it's that big guy that's been beating up Nate. He throws her into a glass table, and after she wakes up, she's told she has 72 hours to get that money. She asks, why 72 hours? And they're like, well, that's how long it takes for you to perish from dehydration. And she's like, oh, you're not going to give me water? And they're like, no, we're referring to Nate. And so we see they have buried Nate alive in a coffin underneath the ground with a little hole so he can breathe. While he's just screaming out there, we see a rattlesnake start to make its way to the hole. Eventually, it makes itself a nice home inside the coffin with Nate. He's very concerned for Cassie, and she calls Lexi, and she's like, have you heard from your sister? Lexi's just over it. She's like, she's probably doing OF stuff, like, I don't care. She does tell Maddie, yeah, Rue is acting crazy. She's told me all this crazy stuff about Alamo, and she mentions the DEA. Maddie's gotten just bits and pieces of this information that she later uses, unfortunately, with Alamo. Rue at Lori's camp, they're kind of discussing what to do with her. They're like, we could do what Alamo does to all his girls. And Rue's like, wait, what does he do to all of his girls? And cuts her hand, and Faye is not happy about this. On, we see Maddie get the phone call that she has to deliver $1 million or else Cassie will, kind of go bye-bye. So she does the only thing she can think to do, which is approach Alamo. Alamo makes her put on this bathing suit and come to the hot tub. It's very much insinuated that she did some stuff with Alamo in order to get some favors from him. During this encounter, she mentions the DEA. She mentions Rue and what she's been saying to Lexi. And we don't immediately see Alamo respond to this comment, but we know something's going to come later. We see him get his gun ready and a bag of what we assume is money to go out to meet Cassie to make the exchange. When they arrive, Alamo says, "Are you sure she's worth it? There's like 1,000,000 other girls." And she's like, "No, this one's a money tree." And he's like, "There's plenty of other girls out there." And she's like, "No, this one's special." She tells Maddie to get out and deliver the funds herself. So we see Maddie approach Nas with the bag of what we assume is money, and she hands over the money, and before they hand over Cassie, they open it, and he's like, "Do you think this is funny?" He gets shot down. Alamo is out of his car and takes care of business, but now Maddie understands, like, hey, I'm kind of on the line for $1,000,000, even though it wasn't even $1,000,000. Like, he was lying the whole time. It was not a bag of money. And after Nas dies, his friend is digging up the coffin out of the ground, and Alamo talks to Maddie. And he lets her know, "You're still on the line for $1,000,000 plus 20% interest." He says, "Just because I have a soft spot for you does not mean I would do this for free." Poor Maddie has put literally everything on the line for Cassie. And this whole time we thought she was going to get revenge on Cassie, but she literally put her entire life of freedom on the line for Cassie. We see them dig up the coffin and they open it up, and Cassie starts screaming because inside we see Nate is deceased. The snake bit him and he did not survive that encounter. Back at Lori's place, we see Rue has been locked in a room. Faye and her boyfriend Wayne are talking, and Wayne tells a horrific story about what the Schmatzes used to do with puppies and stuff, and he basically tells her, like, "I'm going to make you do that to Rue. You're going to unalive Rue at some point to kind of prove yourself." And so when he falls asleep, he goes upstairs, unlocks the door for Rue, and tells her, like, "We got to go get the money now out of the safe." Rue's like, "I don't think now's a great time," but they do it anyway. They go downstairs, and the safe is, like, right in front of Wayne's bed. They try to use the 3D printed key, but it's not working. Faye goes over there, gets the actual key, and they open up the safe, but there's no money inside. There's a bunch of IDs from the girls that Alamo has kind of gotten rid of, so we know for sure he's definitely trafficking people. And Faye is really upset, and she's like, "You lied to me, Rue. You lied to me. You promised me money." And Rue's trying to reason with her, telling her to be quiet because she doesn't want Wayne to wake up. And Faye's like, "Oh, I trusted you. This always happens to me. I trust people, and they let me down." And then she lets out this crazy scream, and that's how the episode ends. Clearly, Rue is in so much trouble. Most amount of trouble we've seen her in so far. In a terrible position. I'm so fearful for Rue, and I'm also really fearful for Maddie. It really broke my heart seeing Maddie basically give up everything for Cassie. I don't think she fully understood what level of commitment she was kind of signing up for with Alamo. He kind of owns her now, which is really, really scary. What did you think of episode 7, and are you looking forward to the finale next week?